I still remember the night I realized something was wrong. Not in the dramatic movie way. Not with loud music or broken glass or screaming. It was quieter than that. It started with a message I didn't send. And that's usually how betrayal begins, with something small enough to ignore, but too strange to forget. I'm 29 years old. Single now. But back then I was in a relationship that I honestly believed was going somewhere. Her name was Sarah. And before you ask, yes, I thought I knew her. That's the stupidest part. I was also best friends with Mike since college. We played basketball, drank cheap beer on Fridays, talked about our future like we actually understood adulthood. If someone told me 2 years ago that these two people would become the center of the worst emotional breakdown of my life, I would have laughed. Because I trusted them. And I believed my relationship was good. Stable. Comfortable. Normal. You know that American dream relationship feeling? Not passionate chaos. Just quiet happiness. That's what I thought I had. But then came the first strange event. It was a Sunday night. Sarah told me she was going to visit her sister. Nothing unusual. But at 11:47 p.m. I checked my phone and saw a message from her. Hey, I left my charger at your place. Can I pick it up tomorrow? I stared at it. Because she sent it while supposedly being with her sister. So I texted back. You were here earlier. You forgot it. No response. I waited 15 minutes. Then I called. The phone rang once, then went to voicemail. I told myself I was paranoid. People forget things. People send wrong messages. People are distracted. But something inside my chest tightened like someone slowly twisting a silent, invisible knife. The next day, I decided to check something small. Not confrontational. Just logical. I went to Sarah's apartment after work. She looked surprised when she opened the door. Not guilty. Just surprised. Hey, she said. I thought you were busy today. I smiled. I was. Just wanted to drop something off. I scanned the room casually. Human brains are weird. When you suspect something, every object suddenly becomes evidence. Her phone was on the kitchen table. Screen down. That's usually meaningless. But I noticed she picked it up and put it in her pocket almost immediately. Like muscle memory. Like protection. We talked about normal stuff. Work. Weather. Her sister's dog. But she kept checking the hallway mirror behind me. Not directly. Just in the reflection. That was the first moment I felt fear. Not jealousy. Fear. Because jealousy is emotional. Fear is logical. And logic was starting to whisper that something was very wrong. Later that week, Mike stopped answering my calls. Not immediately suspicious. But unusual. Mike always answered. Even if he was at the gym or driving. Then one night I saw something that made my stomach drop. I was leaving work at 10 p.m. when I saw Sarah's car parked near a small cafe 2 blocks from my apartment. I knew it was her car. Because I helped her buy it. Inside, I saw 2 silhouettes. One was Sarah. The other was Mike. They were talking. Not touching. Just talking. I stood outside for maybe 5 minutes. Watching. People think confrontation is about anger. It's not. It's about deciding whether the truth is worth destroying your life. I went home without saying anything. That night I opened my laptop and started checking everything logically. Call logs. Social media activity. Message patterns. Human lies usually fail in statistical irregularities. And I found one. Sarah started texting someone saved as J. 3 times per day. Always late evening. Short messages. Nothing suspicious alone. But combined with other data, it became terrifying. Because Mike's middle name started with J. The confrontation happened 3 days later. I invited Sarah to my apartment. Mike was there too. Yes. I wanted both of them in the same room. Psychologically, liars are easier to break when they can't coordinate stories. We sat on the couch. The silence was heavier than any argument. Finally, I spoke. So, how long has this been going on? Sarah frowned. What are you talking about? I looked at Mike. He avoided eye contact. That was step 1. Liars avoid visual responsibility. I said calmly, "You met at the cafe near my apartment last week. You've been texting J 3 times a day. Mike, your middle name starts with J." Mike swallowed. "Dude, it's not." I raised my hand. "Let me finish." I explained everything. The charger message. The mirror-checking behavior. The car observation. The text timing pattern. Human deception usually collapses when confronted with structured logic. Sarah started crying. Not loudly. Just quiet American-style emotional crying. The kind that means the person is deciding whether to lie again. "I didn't want it to happen," she said. Classic sentence. Passive responsibility. I turned to Mike. "Was it physical?" Silence. Then Mike said, "Yes." That was the confession trigger. Because once one truth is admitted, the brain feels pressure to release more. Sarah started talking. She said it started 6 months ago. They met when I was working late. Mike said he felt lonely. Sarah said she was confused about our future. Then came the real betrayal. The old flame. Sarah admitted she had dated Mike briefly in college before I met her. She said feelings came back. Like emotional gravity pulling two unstable objects together. I asked one last question. "Did you love him more than me?" She hesitated. That hesitation was the answer. I stood up slowly. I told them to leave. No yelling. No violence. Just cold decision. "Pack your things tonight," I said. "I want the keys tomorrow." Mike tried to speak. I stopped him. Friendship ended when you decided secrecy was more important than loyalty. Update section. 2 months later I moved apartments. I blocked both of them. But I heard from a mutual coworker that Sarah lost her job after emotional instability affected performance. Mike's girlfriend left him after learning about the affair. Ironically, Mike tried to apologize through 3 different accounts. I never responded. Sometimes revenge isn't dramatic. Sometimes revenge is watching lies collapse under their own weight. Ending. I don't hate them anymore. Hate is too active. Too energy-consuming. What I feel is something colder. Understanding. People betray because they think they can rewrite reality without consequences. But truth is stubborn. It always waits quietly. If you enjoyed this story, tell me, do you think forgiveness is strength, or just another form of weakness? Like the video if you want more dark relationship stories, and subscribe for more psychological narratives. And remember, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who know exactly where to hurt you. If you want, I can write part 2.5, ultra-viral version with insane plot twist that YouTube storytelling channels use to reach 10M plus views. Just say, write twist version. People always think betrayal ends with confrontation. It doesn't. That was the lesson I learned during the first weeks after kicking them out. The apartment felt quieter. Not peaceful. Quiet in a way that makes you notice every small sound. The refrigerator humming. The wind scratching against the window frame. My phone stopped receiving late-night messages. At first, I felt relief. Then something strange happened. Loneliness started talking. Not in words. In memories. I kept replaying small moments. The way Sarah laughed when I told bad jokes. The way Mike always finished my sentences when we talked about sports. The brain is cruel like that. It doesn't show you the betrayal first. It shows you the good parts. Then asks quietly, "Are you sure you want to destroy this?" I started running every morning. Not because I wanted fitness. Because movement silences thinking. Running in the early American city streets felt almost cinematic. Empty sidewalks. Coffee shops opening slowly. People living normal lives while my life was still emotionally frozen at the moment of confrontation. 3 weeks later I received an email. It was from Sarah. Subject line. "I don't expect you to read this." I read it. Of course I did. She wrote that she was sorry. That she felt trapped between 2 versions of herself. One version loved stability. The other wanted excitement. She said she never planned for it to happen. That's another classic human lie. Because most betrayals aren't planned like crimes. They grow like weeds in neglected emotional soil. She wrote that Mike was the one who initiated the physical relationship. But then added something dangerous. She said she still cared about me. That line bothered me more than the betrayal itself. Because caring after betrayal is emotionally toxic ambiguity. I didn't reply. Instead, I saved the email. Not for revenge. Just as psychological closure. 2 days later, Mike called. I answered. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe unfinished emotional business. He said he wanted to meet for coffee. I said yes. We met at the same cafe near my apartment. The same place I saw them together. Funny how humans return to symbolic locations. He looked tired. Older. Like betrayal ages the face faster than stress. He started apologizing immediately. Too many words. That's another sign of guilt. People who speak too fast are usually trying to outrun their own conscience. He said he lost his girlfriend. Lost some friends. Started therapy. I listened silently. Then I asked one question. Did you ever think about me when you were with her? He paused for maybe 6 seconds. Then said yes. I nodded. Because that was the most honest answer he gave. Not heroic. Not emotional. Just simple human weakness. I told him something I still believe today. I don't hate you. But trust is like glass. You can glue it, but it will always show cracks. He cried. Quietly. Men in America are trained not to cry loudly in public spaces. So he cried in that controlled, almost invisible way. I paid for my coffee and left. Update section. Revenge without violence. 3 months later, I heard that Sarah and Mike tried to rebuild their relationship. It didn't last. Mutual distrust is slow emotional corrosion. You can love someone and still poison the relationship by remembering how easily they lied. I focused on work. Promotion came. I moved to a better apartment. I started dating again, but slowly. Not because I was scared. Because I learned something painful. Trust is not something you rebuild by choosing someone. It is something that grows only when you stop trying to control it. Final reflection. Sometimes betrayal is not about the person you lose. It is about discovering how much reality you were willing to ignore for comfort. People don't betray only because they are bad. They betray because they believe emotions can be separated from consequences. But life is not a story you can rewrite after choosing a different character. It remembers. Quietly. Patiently. And one day it shows you the truth when you are finally ready to understand it. If you are watching this story, I want to ask you something. Do you think forgiveness is freedom? Or do you think some memories should stay exactly where they are, broken but honest? Tell me in the comments. Like the video if this story felt real. Subscribe if you want more dark psychological stories about relationships, lies, and the strange mathematics of human hearts. And remember, sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who already know how to hurt you. It happened 6 months after everything ended. I was cleaning old boxes in the storage room of my new apartment. Moving forward in life usually means carrying fewer memories. That was my plan. Throw away what hurts. Keep what helps you survive. Inside one of the boxes I found a notebook. I didn't remember buying it. The cover was dark blue, slightly scratched. When I opened it, I realized it wasn't mine. The first page had handwriting I recognized immediately. Sarah's handwriting. My heart didn't jump. It froze. The first entry was dated 3 years ago. It was before we officially started dating. The text was simple. I met someone today. He was quiet, thoughtful, and looked like he was trying to hide sadness behind humor. I kept reading. There were dozens of entries. She described me long before I asked her out. She wrote about how she liked the way I talked about future plans like they were engineering problems. She wrote that she was scared I would never notice her feelings. Then I found the worst page. The entry was written 8 months before the betrayal. I think I'm starting to feel trapped in comfort. That sentence hurt more than any confrontation. Because it meant the betrayal didn't start with Mike. It started inside her long before I noticed anything. People don't suddenly become strangers. They become strangers slowly enough that you stop noticing the distance. The last page was different. It was written after I kicked them out. The handwriting was shaky. I wish he hated me. It would be easier. I closed the notebook. I didn't cry. I sat on the floor for maybe 20 minutes thinking about how love is often just two people choosing to ignore each other's darkness. I put the notebook back in the box. Not as forgiveness. Not as anger. Just as history. Because some stories are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be remembered. Quietly. Like a scar that no longer hurts but never disappears. If you are listening to this story, I want you to know one thing. Trust is not built by believing someone is perfect. It is built by accepting that they are capable of betrayal, and choosing them anyway. But never ignore the warning signs. Because love without truth is just emotional gambling. And sometimes the house always wins.